I'm old, well, semi-old. I know a lot of my viewers out there are a bit older than me, and of course I love you all. But being in my, let's say, early 50s, I'm probably classed as a bit old school now. There's some young whippersnappers doing very well here on YouTube as vloggers, but I'm no doubt seen as one of the older generation. And even this reveals a difference. The new breed of landscape photographers are not photographers, not really. They're YouTubers who do photography. In many ways, this is what a landscape photographer is all about these days. You start a YouTube channel and record your trips and adventures. This becomes your main source of income, and actually selling your photography is a close second. So when I was starting out, there wasn't any YouTube. No internet either, of course. YouTube wasn't around for me to search and use as a learning platform on how to use my first camera. And therefore, I'm now one of those rare breed that was a professional photographer who then became a vlogger. And if you look closely on YouTube, there's not that many of my type around. I think most pros these days either commit to doing YouTube or have ignored this medium and just run photography workshops instead. It's teaching in one way or another though, I guess. So here again, I'm also a bit of an oddity. I do run workshops, but I also run a photography YouTube channel, but I'm not committed to it. You can tell as I don't pop up here regularly every Sunday, and so far I haven't done any sponsored ads. A condition it seems to get ahead on this platform. That's just how it works. But I digress. The topic I wanted to discuss here was the learning side, the tuition, imparting the advice. If you want to learn about anything these days, you no doubt head straight to YouTube, whether that's learning photography, how to play the guitar, or how to fix a leak on a tap. It's a great resource of all things knowledgeable. But as I say, I didn't have YouTube when I was learning. Instead, I just had photography magazines to read and books that I borrowed from the library. It was reading about the techniques then, rather than watching a how-to guide. There were still photography magazines out there, but not as many as there were. They were plentiful when I finally mastered a few skills and turned pro, because I used to contribute to most of the UK published ones, both with my images and my written articles. It's partly how I made my living from photography back in the day. So the level I've reached today is all down to books, magazines and, well, basic practice. Likewise, there were no photography workshops to go on back then, so I couldn't even pay a pro to teach me, as you can now. If you like the work of a particular photographer nowadays, chances are you can book a course to learn from them directly, in person. And if not, just watch and learn from them in general from YouTube, as they probably have a YouTube channel on here. So is there a difference to how I learn photography and how you now learn? Does being self-taught change the photographer you become compared to being taught by someone else or learning the ropes by watching YouTube videos? Is it now an easier interest to both get into and learn about these days? Is it easier to master then? You are learning an art after all. So if you have learnt much of your knowledge and skills from me or another YouTuber, apparently there are others, how would you have gained that knowledge otherwise without this help? Do you still read photography magazines? Do you buy technical how-to photography books? Or get inspired by the modern portfolio style of book published by a particular photographer? Have you perhaps been on a photography workshop and did that help transform your photography? Will there be an even better way to learn photography in the future, I wonder? Will we use our cameras in some way to learn photography instead? Will there be some sort of special tuition feature built in to help you take better pictures? I often wonder myself then what type of photographer I would be now if I did have YouTube to watch back in my teens. Would this have made it quicker and easier to learn? And would this have changed how I now take pictures? I mean, I'm purely self-taught, so I suppose I don't really know if I'm doing it right. I may have missed something and maybe I'm doing it very differently to everyone else. I might be doing things wrong. No one has ever told me. Now, one of the reasons people come on my workshops or enroll onto my online course or sign up to my E6 subscription or even watch this little old channel of mine is that they often tell me they're amazed at my eye, my right one in particular. They admire my vision. They love the way I view the world and how I seem to make pictures from nothing. How I see all those views and subjects when I'm out taking pictures, which they just don't seem to see themselves. I'm of course very flattered by this response, and therefore I try to explain how I do this and reveal my skills when running a workshop or in these videos that I make. But are these skills I have acquired and gained because of how I taught myself, or would I have picked up these same skills myself from learning from another photographer, or watching a photographer run around like an idiot making a vlog? To be honest, I don't really know of any other YouTuber who shoots the same type of images as I do, or one that shoots pictures as confidently, perhaps in both the landscape as well as the urban environment. You may know one of course, but I haven't come across one myself. Let me know in the comments section if you know someone. So I guess I have taught myself some skills that allow me to shoot successfully in both environments. Of course, it could be that other photographers aren't keen on changing locations. If you're a landscape photographer, you love the landscape and that's all. Or an urban photographer doesn't see the appeal of the landscape, so sticks to towns and cities through choice. I guess I get easily bored, so I swap and change as my mood does. This short attention span also accounts for my changing styles and techniques, or why I shoot digital, then film, then Polaroid, then Holga, then pinhole, then infrared, etc. Basically, I like to add variety to my photography. So, whilst you can watch a YouTube video to teach yourself photography, watch me even, are there things you can only improve upon by 1. Practicing, 2. Reading up about it yourself instead of watching a video, and 3. Simply by teaching yourself alone, not assisted by others? Maybe good old trial and error is the key to improving your photography in a significant way. Maybe you have to try things yourself without the guidance of others. I know I did a lot of this myself back in the day. I had to, and maybe that alone helped shape me as a photographer and influence the pictures that I took. I used to just shoot in my local town and then do the odd weekend visit to London way before I ventured into the landscape, and I guess this helped shape my urban shooting. My first visit to the rural landscape was in the fields and landscape of my home county, Hampshire, and it wasn't until a few years later that I made my first visit to the Lake District, a proper photo hotspot. That first landscape shoot wasn't the most successful though, not least because I went midsummer. It was a steep learning curve for me to understand how to take consistent landscape captures that I could be proud of and learn about light. Again, all by self-teaching with a lot of trial and error. In a way, I'm glad this was my approach though. It meant I wasn't really influenced by others. I didn't try to imitate the style of another photographer or be too influenced by the other's techniques and skills. My only diversion from this was with photographer Charlie Waite. I did a video about his book, The Making of Landscape Photographs, and this was my only inspirational guide that I had in the 90s. It helped inspire me, and it did reveal his approach and style, which still inspires me to this day. I learned a lot from that book, and it gave me an understanding of his technique. Now, I wouldn't say my photography today bears much resemblance to his own beautifully crafted work though, and by creating my own style, mine no doubt is quite different to his, which I'm proud of, but he did inspire me into the landscape. So whilst I love that you all have subscribed to this channel, and I hope you get a lot of useful information and advice from me, what if you couldn't watch me? What if I stopped making videos? What if I didn't offer an alternative e-6 subscription with more videos, feature-packed e-guides and superbly written ebooks? See my website to subscribe. What if I was purely a photographer, shooting pictures for image buyers and the publishing world again, just as I was back in the day, and you all had to teach yourself photography instead? No cheating and watching someone else on here either. No, we're shutting YouTube down in this scenario. All photography workshops are cancelled too. It's teach yourself or go home. So would that change you? would you become a better or worse photographer? Would you give up photography and perhaps learn the guitar instead? Yeah, there's a special guitar YouTube platform in this alternative reality, so that's okay. A YouTube photography-free world then. Get out there, take pictures and make mistakes. Some images will be good, some bad, but hopefully you'll learn how to make the next ones even better. This old school approach could be the ideal way to learn photography then. Maybe you will develop as a photographer in a much more unique way. Maybe you'd find you actually prefer this new approach if forced into it. So do it. Switch off YouTube and go your own way. Of course, I probably won't be around for you to thank if it does work, as I will no doubt have gone bankrupt with my business with no one left to teach. But I'll have the satisfaction that all you lot are now perhaps better photographers because of it. I never was good at this business promotion lark.